Welcome to Folktale Flame. Here, we share real-life stories that teach meaningful lessons.
The Prince and Princess Who Hid Their Crowns for Love. Strangers in a New Land. A prince with a heavy crown. In the kingdom of Elmridge, there lived a young prince named Joe. He had everything: gold, power, a big castle, and 100 servants. But Prince Joe was not happy. His parents, King Harold and Queen Lydia, wanted him to marry soon. "We must unite with another royal family," the king said. "We will choose the best princess for you." But Joe didn't want a political marriage. He wanted real love, someone who would love him, not his crown. So, one night, Joe made a secret plan. He packed simple clothes, took a little money, and left the palace quietly. He went to a far country called Briarland, where no one knew his face. A princess with a strong will. In another kingdom far away, called Windale, lived Princess Joy. She was known for her beauty and kindness. But like Prince Joe, she too was tired of palace life. Her parents always told her, "You must marry a prince, nothing less." Joy, however, wanted something else. "I don't want a crown. I want someone who sees my heart," she whispered to her maid one night. Just like Joe, she planned her escape. She wore a scarf to hide her long hair, put on plain clothes, and left her kingdom quietly. She also chose Briarland, a quiet, beautiful land where no one would recognize a princess. Two strangers meet. Joy arrived in Briarland first. She found a small room to rent in a bakery shop owned by a kind old woman named Mrs. Willow. "I'll work for food and a place to sleep," Joy said. Mrs. Willow smiled. "Then you'll need dough and sweep floors, young lady." Joy laughed. "Yes, ma'am." A few days later, Joe arrived in the same town. He got a room in a small inn and found work helping a local carpenter. He carried wood, fixed chairs, and worked hard with his hands, for the first time in his life. One Sunday, Joe walked into the bakery. That's when he saw Joy for the first time. A simple hello. Joy was behind the counter. Joe stepped in, sweaty and dusty from work. Their eyes met. "Hi," Joe said. "Hello," Joy replied. He bought a loaf of bread and left. Nothing more. But something small had started, something quiet and sweet. A second chance meeting. The next day, Joe passed by again. This time he smiled. "You work here?" he asked. "Yes," Joy said. "What about you?" "I work with Mr. Clark, the carpenter." Joy smiled. "That's honest work." Joe nodded. "And this? Is baking easy?" Joy laughed. "My arms say no. My heart says yes." He laughed too. They talked for a few more minutes. Neither said who they really were. They just enjoyed the moment, as two simple people. Getting closer. Days turned into weeks. Joe began visiting the bakery often, not just for bread, but for conversation. Joy would save him the biggest piece of cake. They talked about dreams. "I want to travel and live freely," Joe said. Joy said, "I want to choose love, not have it chosen for me." Joe nodded. They were alike, both running from crowns, both searching for something real. But neither knew the other's truth. Feelings grow. Joe invited Joy to the lake one afternoon. They sat under a tree and watched the water. "I'm glad I came to Briarland," Joe said. "Me too," Joy whispered. He looked at her. "Joy, I think I like you." She blushed. "I like you too." He took her hand. It felt right. They were just Joe and Joy, not prince and princess. Secrets and doubts. That night, Joy sat in her room. "He doesn't know I'm a princess," she thought. "If I tell him, will he still care?" Joe lay in his bed too. "She thinks I'm just a carpenter's helper. What will she say when she finds out the truth?" They both wanted to tell each other, but they were scared. Would truth break the magic? A visitor from the past. One morning, Joy was sweeping the bakery when a royal guard from Windale entered the shop. She gasped and ran to the back room. Mrs. Willow asked, "What's wrong?" Joy whispered, "I think they're looking for me." At the same time, Joe was walking through the market when he heard a man call out, "Prince Joe, where have you been?" He turned quickly and walked the other way. The past was coming too close. The cliffside talk. That evening, Joe and Joy met at the cliff near the lake. They sat quietly, both nervous. "I need to tell you something," Joe said. "Me too," Joy replied. He looked at her and said, "I'm not who you think I am. I'm Prince Joe of Elmridge." She gasped. "Wait," she said. "I'm not who you think I am either. I'm Princess Joy of Windale." They both stared at each other in silence. Then they laughed. "What are the chances?" Joe said. "We both ran away from royalty and found each other." They held hands. Maybe love had found them, not because of titles, but in spite of them. Watch this video to the end and don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. From Folktale Flame. The Hidden Royals. Love under pressure. What happens now? Joe and Joy sat on the cliff, still holding hands. "You're a princess, just like me," Joe said with a smile. Joy nodded slowly. "We both wanted something simple, something real." They looked at the stars. But both were thinking the same thing. What happens now? They had found love, but the truth had changed everything. Would their kingdoms allow it? Would their parents agree? And could this love survive the royal world? A message from home. The next day, a royal guard from Elmridge found Joe at the carpenter's shop. "Your father is ill," the man said. "He needs you back immediately." Joe's heart sank. "Tell him I'll come," he said. He didn't tell Joy right away. He didn't want to break her heart. But that night, he had to. "I have to go back," he said quietly. Joy looked away. "I knew this day would come." "I'll return," Joe said. "I'll fight for us." Joy nodded, tears in her eyes. "I believe you." The princess is found. Meanwhile, Joy was also discovered. A group of royal guards from Windale saw her walking through the market. "Princess Joy!" they shouted. People turned to stare. Joy was taken away quickly and put into a royal carriage. "You have worried the king and queen," one of the guards said. When they reached Windale, her mother held her tightly. "We're just glad you're safe," the queen said. But Joy didn't feel safe. She felt trapped again. A royal reunion. Back in their kingdoms, Joe and Joy were both showered with attention. Parties, interviews, royal dinners. But none of it mattered. They wrote secret letters to each other, sent through trusted messengers. One letter from Joy said, "They want me to marry a prince from the West. I don't love him. I love you." One letter from Joe said, "They are watching me, but I only think of you. You are my choice, not politics." But how could love win when kingdoms were pulling them apart? The matchmaking begins. King Harold of Elmridge called Joe into the throne room. "There's a princess from the north," he said. "She's perfect, smart, beautiful, royal." Joe shook his head. "I'm not interested." "Joe, this is how we keep peace. This is your duty." "I already love someone," Joe said boldly. His father looked shocked. "You mean that girl you met while hiding?" "She's not just a girl," Joe said. "She's Princess Joy of Windale." The king sat in silence. "She's royal?" he asked. "Yes. And I love her." Joy's struggle. In Windale, Joy faced the same problem. Her parents arranged a dinner with Prince Thomas of Westmore. He was polite, rich, and dull. After dinner, her father smiled and said, "He would make a fine husband." Joy stood. "But I don't love him. I love Prince Joe of Elmridge." Her father frowned. He disappeared. He shamed his crown. Joy raised her voice. "No. He found me when I was nothing. He loved the real me." Her mother sighed. "That is rare. But the world isn't simple, Joy." Joy looked out the window, thinking of Joe. The secret meeting. Joe sent a letter to Joy. "Meet me at the old inn in Briarland. One last time, before they decide our futures." Joy left quietly at night, dressed in plain clothes again. She arrived at the inn and saw Joe standing there. They hugged tightly, both afraid of what was coming. "We may not win," Joy whispered. "But we'll try," Joe said. Together, they made a plan. A bold decision. Joe returned home and called a press meeting. In front of reporters, cameras, and his parents, he said, "I am Prince Joe, and I love Princess Joy of Windale. Not because it's a royal match, but because she knew me when I was just a worker." The room went silent. Across the sea, Joy did the same. She stood in the palace hall and said, "I chose Joe, not as a deal, but as a man." Their stories made the news in both kingdoms. People whispered. Some supported them. Some didn't. But they had spoken their truth. 2 kingdoms, 1 answer. A few days later, King Harold met with King Richard of Windale. They sat across from each other in a royal chamber. "Our children disobeyed," King Harold said. "They also found real love," King Richard replied. The queens looked at each other and smiled. Finally, Queen Lydia said, "Maybe it's time we listen to their hearts." After hours of talk, they made a decision. The royal letter. Both Joe and Joy received the same letter. "We have heard your hearts, and for once, we will follow them. You have our blessing. Love must be free, or it is not love at all." Joe held the letter and smiled. Joy danced with joy. They had fought. They had waited. And now, they have won. Watch this video to the end and don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. From Folktale Flame. The Hidden Royals. A royal love that changed everything. The wedding plans begin. The kingdoms of Elmridge and Windale were full of celebration. After years of war, politics, and cold smiles, peace had finally come, through love. Prince Joe and Princess Joy were to be married. Banners were raised. Bakers made thousands of cupcakes. Schools closed early. It wasn't just about 2 royal families. This was a story people believed in. 2 hearts, 1 choice, and no crowns could stop them. But even with joy all around, one problem remained. The people's doubt. Some people didn't forget the past. "Why should we trust Prince Joe?" asked a woman in Windale. "He ran away from duty." "Can Princess Joy rule Elmridge?" asked a man at the market. "She's from Windale." A group of older advisors warned the kings. "Love is not enough to rule a kingdom," one said. But the people also saw something else. How Joe served the poor in Briarland. How Joy smiled at children in the village. Slowly, minds began to change. The wedding invitation. Joe visited Joy at her palace. They stood by the same window they once looked through as children, when kingdoms were enemies. "Are you ready for this?" Joe asked. Joy smiled. "I'd marry you with or without a castle." He laughed. "You're lucky. I don't own one anymore." She giggled. "That makes me love you more." They sat at the royal table and designed their wedding invitation together. The prince and princess who met as strangers and loved without titles invite you to witness a royal love that was real from the start. The old friend returns. Back in Briarland, Mrs. Willow heard the news. "The young baker girl was a princess," she said. "And the carpenter boy, a prince?" She shook her head with a smile. "I always knew they were special." A few days later, she received a golden letter. It was from Joe and Joy. "Dear Mrs. Willow, you gave us a roof, kindness, and cake. Please come to our wedding. You are part of our family." Mrs. Willow cried. Then she baked her best apple pie. The day before, the night before the wedding, Joe walked through the quiet halls of Elmridge Castle. He found his father sitting alone. "Are you proud of me?" Joe asked. The king didn't answer quickly. Then he looked up and said, "I am. You reminded me what true royalty means: courage, love, and standing up for your heart." Joe smiled. "Thank you, father." At the same time, Joy stood with her mother. "You once said love isn't simple," Joy whispered. "It's not," the queen said. "But it's worth it." The wedding. The day had come. The bells of Elmridge rang loud across both kingdoms. The garden where they first held hands in Briarland was now filled with roses, music, and guests from all over the world. Joe stood in a white suit, nervous but smiling. Then Joy appeared. wearing a gown of soft blue and gold, her hair shining like morning light. When she reached him, she whispered, "Still want to run away?" He smiled. "Not anymore." The priest spoke. "You met without names. You loved without crowns. And now, with the truth known and hearts joined, I pronounce you husband and wife." The crowd cheered. But Joe and Joy only saw each other. A new kingdom of love. After the wedding, they didn't return to their palaces. They went back to Briarland, to the quiet place where their love had begun. They opened a center for orphans, teaching baking, woodwork, and reading. They ruled both kingdoms together, but they never lost the lesson they had learned. Love is not about gold or titles. It's about truth, kindness, and seeing the soul. Joe still fixed broken chairs. Joy still kneaded dough on weekends. And together, they showed the world that the greatest crown is love itself. Moral lessons. Real love sees the heart, not the crown. Running from duty may lead you to your true calling. When two people choose each other honestly, even kingdoms listen. It's not where you start, it's how you grow that makes your story beautiful. If this royal love story touched your heart, please like this video. Comment below. Would you choose love over a crown? Share this story with someone who believes in fairy tale endings. Subscribe to our channel for more beautiful stories of love, truth, and life. And remember, the truest royalty is the love we give to others.